Hello and welcome back to the show. This is my return after 6 weeks of obviously not doing any game reviews for Everton since there wasn't really any games to report on. I wish that was still the case. We lost this one 2-1 in devastating fashion. Probably the most disastrous way you could put it. I mean, the stage was set for us to capitalize and pick up 3 points and potentially have a little bit of stability. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and it puts us in a really dire position. If we start talking about the game, we're going to do it in a linear fashion, and from the beginning we said, or it was required of us, that we started this game on a high. It was going to be a big difference, and it was going to put you at a very advantageous position if you could start the game on a roll, given both teams were bound to, get out the gate with a little bit of rustiness. But obviously we had something to show for it. A nice little goal to start things off. Abysmal defending by whoever the hell was on Mina. And it was a pretty nice finish. And that really put us in good stead going forward. Basically, if we just talk about the game as from a whole, we had way too many opportunities that left a lot to be desired. And, the shot count will tell you that. In the first half, actually, generally speaking, overall, Mope had opportunities. There was one where he intercepted the ball at the halfway line, him versus the goalkeeper, and couldn't capitalise. Yet Anthony Gordon, who had a shot from point blank, couldn't even pummel it past the keeper, or even put any power on it that was going to really trouble the keeper. In the second half, we also had a couple similar opportunities in some good positions, and all that went to waste. But if we go back to talking about the idea of conversion, if you got the same personnel out there every single game, nothing will change. And putting out the same personnel week in, week out is not going to change anything. And it was blatantly obvious to see. Mope and McNeil, I have to cannot understand what they are offering on this pitch. McNeil's losing possession going forward. Mope, for the first 30 minutes was non-existent. Pretty much for the whole game. There was like a 10-minute patch where he was getting the ball a little bit deeper and serving as an outlet whenever we were leaving, the defensive area. But aside from that, just absolutely no threat going forward. And I saw a really good point on Twitter. Some people were saying, well, McNeil and Mope do not complement one another at all. And obviously, if you want to score goals, you need players on the outside, running the wings that can complement those up top, the number 9. So you can actually cross it in to your number 9, and your number 9 can finish it off for you. But the problem is, we don't have a number 9 that can score from crosses, and we have a player on the wing that's good at set pieces and crosses, but has no one to cross it to. So, it's logically flawed. Nathan Patterson, if you look at his early season form, it was very reminiscent of that kind of form. Looked very fresh, a lot of pace in him, really just looking to attack. And that assertiveness was shown all throughout the game. It's just a pity that, obviously no one was on the end of it, and there was not a lot of support going for him. But, that was a good sign. But on the flip side, another flaw, or one of the flaws of Patterson's game is, he has very few but very costly errors. And we saw that with the first goal. He wasn't aware. One simple look over the back shoulder, and you would have been able to see that there was a runner behind. But unfortunately, one simple costly error is, the rest is history. And that could have really changed the game if we didn't concede that goal. Would it have seen Wolves be a little bit more aggressive? Potentially. Would we have been, a little bit more standoffish, as if we weren't already? Maybe. But regardless, I mean, every goal that you concede is ever so valuable to the result. And, we saw it on full display when they score a second one in the 95th. Another thing that we looked pretty good at today is the press. That remained pretty consistent throughout. We were able to force quite a few errors by Wolves players and, generate some opportunities from that. And that's where our biggest opportunities came from. However, obviously, as previously mentioned, the quality is lackluster and, you got no hope if you can't score goals. Now, my player of the game, I'm not sure if this is a popular opinion or not. I'm going to pick Idrissa Gana Gueye. Really seemed like, his game today was the embodiment of an all-round player. He was not afraid to get his hands dirty. He was constantly winning challenges, winning possession back, whether that was, through earning a free kick, or, potentially regaining possession much higher up the pitch, and not really allowing Wolves to advance forward. Defensively was pretty sound, and as I said, by regaining possession higher up the pitch, we're able to, once again, generate some more high percentage opportunities. I think some of his tackles were excellent as well. There was one crucial block in, I believe it was the first half, where he basically just flung himself at the ball and was able to, produce a vital block. And it was that kind of effort that we really needed to see from all players throughout the entire 90 minutes today. I just think he was pretty good today. Obviously, there wasn't really a standout given the result, but I do think at the 82 minutes or so, he was probably a number one equivalent with Nathan Patterson. But I do have to ask the question, was subbing him off the right decision? Because Doucouré comes on and he's right at the forefront of the mistake which resulted in that final goal. If we talk about the final goal for the moment, I just don't understand how you can have the fullbacks press that high up the pitch, that late in the game, and leave you so overexposed at the back. And if you turn the ball over, you're cooked. And we saw that on full display. A couple changes of direction. They swung it out to the right-hand side, then they swung it back to the left. And all that did was drag the few numbers that we had at the back all the way across to the ball. And then, we obviously had to follow it. But unfortunately, all the numbers had already gone to the right-hand side. And obviously, the Wolves players, there was a huge weight of numbers on the left-hand side, and that's obviously where the goal resulted from, which was just diabolical. I mean, we talk about the Goodison Park influence and how vital that is to our success. I would argue that it couldn't be any further from, that magical vibe that it usually gives off, in the fact that Tarkowski and Godfrey were getting booed when they were just, pinging it back and forth in the late stages. But the thing is, there's a difference between chasing the game and being stupid whilst doing it, and the latter was achieved. As long as we had possession, we were fine. We obviously couldn't concede if we had the ball. But unfortunately, just a lack of responsibility, and the rest is history. So, look, we need to absolutely nail this January transfer window. If we do not do that, we're going down. And I say that with full conviction, because the striker play, the quality, we had opportunities today. We had 3 or 4 clear-cut opportunities that absolutely every single striker in the Premier League will nail, usually. 95% of the time. And somehow we managed to lower that percentage number significantly, purely by the players we put out on the pitch. We need to invest immediately with a striker and possibly some wingers that complement that. I mean, you have to deal with the striker problem first, because you can't count on DCL to be out on the pitch every single game week, purely because it hasn't been the case for who knows how long. So it's got to be dealt with, and it's got to be dealt with early. No piss farting around. Get it done by the first week of January so we can actually, get into the swing of things much earlier than, transfer windows gone by. And look, those blaming Frank Lampard for this, you could pass a little bit of the blame onto him, but you cannot fault his subs because he's only got 7 or so players to deal with, and odds are they're on the bench for a reason. They're simply worse than the players we have on the pitch, and the players on the pitch currently aren't that good either. So, I mean, the standards are dropping significantly. I don't really know what you want him to do about that when the roster is absolutely infested with players like that. And second of all, I would love to see the people that are saying Frank out, please tell me what you do better. Because I seriously don't know what you can do. He is not the one that has the power in finishing those opportunities from point blank range. That is purely on the players. You can train them all you want. If they cannot produce on match day, well then the only solution is getting players that have, more craft. It's as simple as that. I don't really know what you want him to do about that, but wow, this has been an interesting talk / rant. I mean, it's the first one back after 6 weeks, and not an ideal way to go out. Imagine, going to your first game in 6 or so weeks and being let down like this, especially in such dramatic and devastating circumstances. Look, we've got, a couple tough fixtures coming up, plus the FA Cup fixture. I don't like our chances, especially if we, can't hit a barn door against Wolves. So we've got to be alert. We've got to play the full 90 minutes. I mean, I don't know what our best team looks like, but that is why getting these transfers done ASAP, preferably before you even enter January, so you can just, with the snap of your fingers, get the deal done immediately and we move forward and deal with those players. But get rid of the dead weight, bring in players that are going to benefit us and potentially game change us, and then you can possibly make a judgment on what Frank is doing, what his game plan is. But right now, he just doesn't have the resources to get the job done, simply because the players on the pitch do not deliver. I sound like a broken record. We had the same problem 6 weeks ago, and immediately 90 minutes later, all those problems have just fueled right back up to the surface. So it's going to be interesting to see what plays out. Share your thoughts in the comments. I obviously read them all and respond to them all, so please feel free. But that'll do it from me. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you for the talking points after the next match day. Thank you.